everyone, it's Krista from the Learning Farm, and we are going to read an amazing new book called Our Vote is Our Voice. And it was written by some young people, some students right here in Ithaca, New York, at a school called South Hill Elementary School. And it is from third grade teacher Jake Chernikoff, and it is called Stories of Heroic Americans Who Fought for Our Rights. Our vote is our voice, stories of heroic Americans who fought for our rights. And it's got the students' names, the teachers who put this together as a research project in third grade about all the beautiful heroes who helped us to be able to have voting rights in this country. I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from this beautiful story. I'll read the introduction to start. A voting vanguard is someone who struggled so that others could have a voice through voting. It is someone who fought against people or systems that wanted to silence the voices of others. By learning the stories shared in this book, we hope that you will carry on with the work of the brave and amazing figures who have paved the way for our freedom. At the very least, remember that by using your right to vote, you can also be a voting vanguard. People who have fought and even died for our rights, so remember to never take them for granted. It's straightforward. And I'll read from the excerpt about Dorothy Cotton, who lived right here in Ithaca. She was an amazing civil rights leader. She worked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and she was a local hero who helped this community connect to our rights and the beauty and the power of voting in this community. Dorothy Cotton by Eli, Jasara, Karina, Nora, and Phoebe. Dorothy Cotton was the definition of a true shero. What's a shero, you may ask? A shero is a woman hero who is admired for her courageous qualities. Dorothy Cotton wasn't afraid to get into trouble while standing up for people's rights. She taught people how to pass unfair voting tests and helped them register to vote, even though at the time it was very difficult. She was a peaceful protester and believed in using her words and not her fists. Dorothy Cotton was a civil rights activist, educator, and leader. She was born in 1930 in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Her mother died when she was only 3 years old, and she and her sisters had to be brave from a young age while being raised by their abusive father. Dorothy was a very smart woman. She went to school at Virginia State University and then Boston University. Her high school teacher helped her to get into college, and Dorothy was able to earn a master's degree. As she continued down her path, she gained more and more confidence along the way. She died in 2018 in Ithaca, New York. Yes, that's right, Dorothy Cotton lived the last part of her life in Ithaca, New York, right where this book is being written, and worked for Cornell University for many years. Most of Dorothy's greatest accomplishments happened during the civil rights movement. She taught thousands how to read, write, and count so that they could vote. Dorothy did this because at the time there were unfair voting tests that used ridiculous questions like, do you know how many bubbles are in a bar of soap? In order to stop African Americans from voting. She was a member of many organizations and was a leader in most of them. She was the only woman on Dr. Martin Luther King's executive committee and started the citizen education program with him to educate and inspire others to vote. She even wrote a book called If Your Back's Not Bent about her life and her work with Dr. King. Dorothy Cotton felt strongly about everyone having an equal voice. She taught others about peaceful protesting in order to be heard, and most importantly, she stressed that in order to be heard, you had to vote. Dorothy also helped to fight against segregation. Segregation meant that African Americans and European American people weren't allowed to do the same things or go to the same places. Dorothy Cotton organized marches and protests against segregation. During one protest, the police came and beat up the people marching. Dorothy was one of the people beaten, and she developed hearing problems in her left ear because of it. She continually put her safety at risk to help others achieve the rights they deserved. Due to her efforts and the efforts of others who were a part of the civil rights movement, African Americans were granted many of the same rights that only European Americans previously enjoyed. Dorothy Cotton was a hard worker and spent her life working with people from all walks of life. She lent her courage to people all over the world. Dorothy worked with protesters from South Africa all the way to Israel to help them overcome struggles and get the rights they deserved. She overcame the obstacles that stood in the way of African Americans and women and still found time to fight for others. Dorothy Cotton always fought for what she wanted, and this is what made her a true shero. I was lucky and blessed enough to meet Dorothy Cotton here before she passed in 2018, and I loved being able to shake her hand and allow my children to meet her and shake her hand. We felt blessed by her presence, and she taught us many, many things that day, including how to pass the torch from one generation to the other and help uplift the communities in which we live. I pray that you will be blessed to meet the sheroes and heroes in our community and your communities throughout the world so that you can continue marching forward into peaceful and beautiful, harmonious relationship with one another. Your vote is your voice. I hope that you will do much with it.